Hello there and welcome back to Dupes & Co. Now, if you are a regular viewer, and I hope that you are, you will know that every week now we do War on Waste. That's what we call it, where we look at your money, my money, taxpayers' money being wasted. I sit down, of course, with the Taxpayers Alliance and look at what is going on this week. We're going to look at benefit cheats. Honestly, this infuriates me, not least because I know at least, I'm trying to think, one or two people that are doing this, and I think this is very commonplace. What this is basically couples that are pretending to be single to boost their benefits. So basically, they're a single person, they're claiming benefits as per their entitlement, but then what happens is their status changes, their partner moves in with them, so they are not single, but yet they don't report that, and so they carry on getting these single benefits. Basically, this costs me and you £2 million a day. £2 million a day. I'm fuming. Joining us, of course, to tell us more, Duncan Simpson from the Taxpayers Alliance. Good evening to you. Tell me, £2 million a day, because there'll be someone listening to this, watching this, thinking that's nonsense. How could it be that high? But it is, right?
That's right. So it's about £750 million a year, almost a billion quid. And as you say, there's quite a few ruses which couples use, and they sort of pretend to be single. So sort of two standout examples. I think there was a couple in Merseyside, and the wife or the fiance said that the husband was over in North Wales in a home over there. It was actually being used as a business, as a holiday let. And I think there was another example in Sunderland as well, where a nurse defrauded us of almost £50,000 through quite a similar scheme. Now, obviously, if we look at the big picture as well, there's a lot of this which has been happening in the last year. So we do know that benefit fraud across the whole of the system, so taking account of housing benefits, incapacity benefits and so on and so forth, that was about £8.5 billion last financial year, and that was a big jump from the previous year. So this really is the thin end of the wedge in terms of what kind of fraud that we're seeing in the benefit system. And if we look at the benefit system as a whole, it's enormous. It's about £250 billion a year. A lot of that is the state pension, but then also a lot of similar schemes which are growing in size. So these are some pretty woeful examples, but it obviously speaks to HMRC's inability to really stamp down on these instances happening.
Yeah, and so there might even be people watching doing this, and if you are doing this, you probably, I'm sure, justify it in your head. You'll probably think, well, it's only a little bit of money, or everyone does something. Let me tell you, no. £2 million a day. We sit on this programme, we talk about the NHS backlog, we talk about all these different things that we haven't got any money for, things that impact every single person. And what it needs is everyone to take collective responsibility to do the right thing. So if you are someone that's doing that, or indeed you know somebody that's doing that, because I can certainly think of someone, and I do, I think this is incredibly commonplace, you've got to know that it's wrong and stop doing it. I'm sure no one's going to listen to me, but I can but hope. Duncan, tell me as well about this marble arch. I just want to call it a monstrosity, quite frankly. I just need to tell my viewers what it is, because if you're not in London, you won't know what this is. But basically, Marble Arch, it's kind of one of the big crossroads in London. It's next to a huge park. I think it's Hyde Park, isn't it? So right next to a natural park. They've built, we might have some pictures of it, I'm hoping. There it is. So right next to this park, they've built a fake hill. That's it there, covered in scaffolding, and apparently you're supposed to get fantastic views of the city. Look at it, looks like a building site. What's going wrong with it, Duncan? Well,
it's awful, isn't it? The deputy leader of Westminster Council, which is where the mound is based, he's resigned and he's taken responsibility for the obvious calamity. The initial cost was £2 million, then it was 3.3, and then it doubled again to £6.6 million. And this is, as I said, it was a scheme paid for by Westminster council taxpayers and business ratepayers. So it's a vast outlay, and the justification for the council, rather, which they came up with, is that, well, we need to attract people back to the West End. And there's an argument.
A fake hill next to a park.
That was what they thought might happen. Footfall is down, I think, 50% at the West End. So obviously their thinking is we need to get people back and people spending again and whatever else. But I mean, one, it looks dreadful, and the idea that building a absolute monstrosity like that would definitely encourage all Londoners and from outside of it to come back to the city is absurd. I mean, I grew up in London. I don't particularly want to go around certain parts of Leicester Square, for example. I mean, it's not really my taste, but it's for individuals to determine where they want to go in London. The idea idea that some local authority bods can determine, oh, well, definitely with this mound, this new attraction, then people will come back to the West End and they'll go to a show after they've gone to the mound is for the birds. So it's a dreadful scheme, which is 3 times over the original budget. And bear in mind, this is a council. Westminster Council is one of 2 local authorities we found 3 years ago, which had a Rolls-Royce for that. I think the Lord Mayor of Westminster was allowed to use that, a Rolls-Royce. And they said they were going to sell this off, so hopefully they've done that. But, you know, we see these kind of instances of waste at local authorities, especially in inner London councils, time and time again.
Yeah, I mean, I just look at these and I just think you absolute jerkers. Because the other thing you won't know if you're not from London or familiar with the area is, so you've got this huge park, right? You've got to believe this to see it. So you've got a huge park. Then you've got this, outside the park, a fake hill that's been built to the tune of 6... The park, what they've done, just in case you think they couldn't make it any more ridiculous if they tried, they've now built a cycle lane all the way along the outside of the park, despite the fact that you cycle in the park. So if anyone tries to drive to said hill, you really need to consider what you're doing, because you're down to a single row of traffic there. And I sit there and I look and I think, why are people lacking basic common sense? It's just basics. Honestly, Tom, you've got something to say on the Hillgate, I can tell.
I mean, I saw it just an hour ago because I drove past it for the first time. And actually, the pictures you've showed viewers don't do it justice, just in terms of how much of an awful carbuncle it is. I mean, it's not only the hill that looks like a sort of disgrace to a Soviet sort of World War II style bunker. It's the fact that it's actually got these rough cut concrete blocks that actually go around the edges, which I think are some kind of you know, brutalist artistic decoration, which again look like tank stoppers.
Yeah, there it is, look, in all of its glory.
And to think as well that this hill is right next to a beautiful, the Marble Arch, a neoclassical monument. So what was wrong with the approach to Marble Arch, which after all also operates in effect as a roundabout in a key area of London? What was wrong with people just looking at a neoclassical Marble Arch? I mean, it would, you know, could you imagine in France, in Paris, next to the Arc de Triomphe, something like that carbuncle being built just to the side of it as you got the Champs-Élysées?
What a nice word, carbuncle.
I think it's great. I think it's great. I think it's brilliant. The council basically paid nearly £7 million for a glorified slag heap. It's beautiful.
It is ridiculous. If you come to London and you're considering what shall I sightsee, take the hill off your list. Don't head there. Even Francis don't like it, I don't think. Anyway, you guys...